Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a couple different topics to go through and we're just going to get straight into it, starting off with number one. Manchester United have joined Chelsea in the race to sign Juventus midfielder Adrien Rabiot. Now, this does just mention that Chelsea have been showing an interest in the midfielder for a while, but news emerged that Man United have joined. Basically, that's most of the Chelsea topic in regards to this, but I just wanted to give my point of view on this and get your opinions on this. Is Rabiot the kind of guy that we want to be going to sign for a midfield upgrade this year? Don't get me wrong, good player and all, but I think Chelsea can do better than Rabiot in the midfield. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. I think he would possibly cost a lot of money and isn't necessarily much of an upgrade on what we've already got. I personally would prefer to stick with the three main ones: Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante, including Conor Gallagher back from loan this year, something along those lines, instead of signing someone like Rabiot, who's going to cost a lot of money, high wages that you'd expect, and would stunt the progress of someone like Conor Gallagher in the midfield. So for me on this one, I'm kind of against it. I think that will probably be the general consensus, but let me know what you guys think on this one. It's a no for me. Next up, we have news coming from H. Grimes, and as I always say with her, she brings out quality news. I think her account's private, but try and follow her anyway. She does great stuff. And she says, Chelsea board to Inter on June 2nd. So this was a couple of days ago when negotiating loan deal with Lukaku and back to Inter. There were two options, including Bastoni and a loan deal for Lukaku and cash for the Chelsea striker. Option 2 was a swap deal, Lautaro with Romelu Lukaku, because Dybala is joining Inter. And then she said she'll know more when coming home on Monday, so we might get another update on that then. She then says that if Bastoni is being bought, basically Tottenham are in the running for that. And it looks like they'll be getting him, unless something like this goes on. I imagine obviously the preference would be to come to Chelsea over Tottenham. So there we go, we have two options for a Lukaku deal: Bastoni in a loan deal for Lukaku and cash, and the other option is from seemingly just a straight swap, Lautaro Martínez with Romelu Lukaku. Now, either of these needs the player to agree, and I assume that if it's gotten to the stage where Inter are willing to at least consider these players being swap deals, then I think either player would be up for the move. Maybe they'd have been asked beforehand. Let's just take a quick look at Bastoni. Of course, plays anywhere across the back line. Tends to be a little bit more on the left, as you can see here. This is in the Nations League. If you take a look at Serie A, a lot further on the left, generally can play left back, as well as centre back and right back. His strengths are his long ball, so he's actually got pretty good passing. 23 years old, valued at about 56 million euros. Is left footed and very tall as well. Looking at his stats for the season, 31 total matches played, 1 goal, did manage 3 assists however, 4 yellow cards and a red card, so maybe a little bit disciplinary, but nothing too major. Total duels won about 60%, on the ground about 60 again, and just over 60 for aerials. So generally you'd say he's a pretty solid player, not one of the best defenders in the world, but at 23, plenty of time to improve on that one. And if we take a look here, his average SofaScore rating for the last 12 months is 7.07, but you might notice something on this graph that I tend to point out a lot, and it's these little injury blips that he's been having fairly consistently. If you look at that, that's 5 throughout the last year, 5 periods of injury, and they're pretty separated. It's not like it was one injury that kept him out for a month or two and just kept coming back. Maybe they were rushing him back. This has gone on from September to May, and I'm not entirely sure what the extent of the injuries was. Maybe someone who's more clued up with the Serie A and of course Inter can let me know what the injury was and whether it was a recurring injury of the same thing or different ones. But whatever it may be, sure, the average rating is good. He looks like a solid player internationally. You can see here 7.50 over these appearances. Internationally, looks like a very strong player, but you might be getting a player that's a little bit injury prone. But given that Chelsea needs centre backs, or defenders in general I guess, and are looking to get rid of Lukaku, then I'm open to that absolutely, assuming we get Lukaku and cash. I think that's a fair deal given that we spent pretty much 100 million on Lukaku. The second option then is a straight swap deal with Lautaro Martínez. And if we take a look at some of his stats, he's obviously a bit more well known. 24 years old, right footed, valued at about 66 million euros. So that makes me think that maybe if Chelsea are going to go for this, that they are, if they're going to go for option 1, that the Bastoni and Lukaku for cash would only be maybe 20 million extra on top, given that, the value of these guys is only about 10 million apart. I think Lautaro Martínez would probably go for a little high, in the real world market, not just value. But you do have to think, I don't think Chelsea are getting much cash back from this deal. But obviously isn't a very tall striker, but his strengths are his anchor play, his positioning, and his high pressing. As you can see there, with no outstanding weaknesses, only really plays striker. You can see his heat map here for the season, generally down the middle. That's pretty much where he goes, but he can drift wide. 35 appearances, 21 goals, 3 assists. You can take a look at some of the passing stats here, some of the duels, stuff like that. Only 6 yellow cards, nothing major. Average SOFA score rating for the year is a 7.11 with only 2 blips of injury, so nothing major to worry about there. But there is something that worries me about this, and it's the fact simply that we've seen players that come to Chelsea and not be able to perform. Lukaku being one of them, of course. So does that mean, the fact that he's got 35 appearances, 21 goals, 3 assists, does that mean that that's going to translate into goals in the Premier League? Maybe not. Is a bit more of a small, technical player, not so much of a physical player like you see with Lukaku. Everyone always thought that Lukaku in the Premier League would work because he is so physical, and like the defenders in this league are just, they're big, they're strong. It's the way the league is. It's not very technical. Lautaro Martínez might struggle, and that's my worry with Chelsea bringing him in. But I guess it's a risk we have to take, right? We're going to have to choose one of these options. By the sounds of it, these are maybe the extent of the negotiations. There's going to be one of these two. The logical one, obviously, is Bastoni, because we have a centre-back crisis at the moment. But then bringing in one attacker for the other sort of negates the issue, right? It means you don't have to go out and sign a new attacker. But I do worry that Lautaro Martínez isn't a player that's capable of making it in the Premier League. Now, I absolutely could be proven wrong with this, and if we do go with option 2, then I hope I'm proven wrong. But this one is the less exciting deal, but I think makes a lot more sense. And we've seen, Bastoni's stats aren't bad at all, 7.07. It's the injuries maybe that worry me a little bit. 8 clean sheets, you can see there. The 31 games. It's not bad. He really does get up that left-hand side, so he'd be capable of playing Tuchel's system, I'm sure, and getting forward. But it's an interesting state of play. We'll see. Hopefully, H. Grimes will be able to come to us with more news on Monday. And we'll see what comes out of it. But for me, I think it's option 1. But option 2 is a little bit more exciting, I do have to admit. Let me know what you think, option 1 or option 2 in the comments. That's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff so you never miss a video. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.